how much rainwater are we getting, and the wind. A lot of times the wind can do more damage than flooding can do. So there's a lot of factors involved in our weather systems here, not just hurricanes. Tropical storms sometimes can do more damage than a hurricane. So if you don't want to deal with any of that, as I tell my clients, you have to move more inland. You have to move away from the coastline. And again, unfortunately, you come to Florida and you want to be close to the coastline. Most people do. But if you go out to Wesley Chapel or Lutz or Land O'Lakes, those areas, you're gonna be fine. Even over in like the Palmetto area, you're probably going to be fine. But when you're looking at areas closer to the beach, on the west side of Tampa, and even in South Tampa, you're gonna be dealing with floods and whatever ramifications come from our weather systems. But also Tampa has one of the most robust hurricane preparedness systems in place in the nation. Obviously, we're used to it, so we give you advance notice. I tell all of my clients when they move into their new houses, get yourself a little hurricane kit, make sure that you have, flashlights and some sort of crank radio, the basics, get some basics. Just have that stored somewhere safe in your garage. Make sure you understand, especially if you're new to Tampa and you haven't been through one of our hurricanes or tropical storms. And if you have those hurricane shutters or hurricane fabrics for your windows, if you start to hear on the news that we're getting, some disturbances in the water and we might be getting a hurricane, you might want to do a practice run. And you're going to have some areas in your house that you're going to see that might pool water more than others. This is the time to really take a look around the perimeter of your house and see where some of your flood areas are, because water's going to pool. We're flat, so it happens sometimes, especially if you're not elevated enough. So you need to figure out where you need to maybe put some sandbags and that sort of thing. Just plan ahead. That's what I tell people. Plan ahead. You'll be better equipped. And with the heat comes the bugs. And I talk about this a lot because, there's snakes everywhere, there's geckos everywhere, and those little lizards, and palmetto bugs, and love bugs, and no-see-ums, and all kinds of flies. And recently I saw this weird looking moth on the tire of my car. It was about this big. So we get all kinds of insects here. We're subtropical, we get them year round. There's not a time of year where they get a chance to die off. Now, I wanna tell you, the biggest thing you're gonna have to worry about that might drive you crazy, which drives me crazy, is the palmetto bugs. I don't know how they get in the house, but after every rainstorm, I tend to find a dead roach in my house, a dead palmetto bug. They're like this big and they've got wings. I have an exterminator. They come quarterly. Again, I tell all of my clients, make sure that you get on an exterminator, schedule, so that you make sure that you kill whatever's trying to, grow inside your house. It is just something you have to do all the time. Don't forget termites. We are one of the states that has the largest amount of termite swarms, okay? Termites are going to damage the wood of your house. So if you aren't in a block house or you have partial wood frame and partial block, you need to make sure that your house has been treated for termites. Find out for the history of the house, has it ever been tented? If not, you might want to consider that. But again, not an exterminator. Ask an exterminator what's the best course of action to be in the preventative mode from termites. Termites can come and destroy your house. Termites have ruined deals for my clients. So it's a very real thing. Yes, of course, we have alligators and we have snakes and all that stuff. It's swampland here, guys. It's just something we live with. Do we walk around seeing alligators all the time? No, but if there is one walking around, you're gonna see it on the news. I've had an alligator in my canal behind me. I've had baby alligators. I've seen snakes. I've seen a lot more snakes lately than normal. Be careful if they rattle. Obviously, stay away. Black garden snakes are pretty normal here, and they eat the rats. So they're not all bad. And those little geckos that come, they're all over my patio. They eat the bugs too. So, cycle of life. Traffic. You will hate the traffic here. Now, a lot of you are coming from some of the larger cities like LA and New York and Chicago and Boston and all these big cities, and you're gonna go, Emily, your traffic's nothing. I get it. I lived in LA. It took me an hour and a half to get anywhere, and I'm sure it's worse now. I lived in Atlanta where the traffic was atrocious. So I'm not saying we are the worst. I'm saying we are horrible compared to what we used to be. Because before everybody moved here, it was pretty quiet around here. We rarely had traffic on 275 leading into downtown. Now it doesn't matter what time of day you want to get to downtown Tampa where again, Armature Works is, or some cool restaurants, or walking around the Riverwalk, or even going over to Brandon. You have to go 275 to get over to the Selman. That can bottleneck, and it's just too much. We just honestly have not had the time to build the infrastructure to handle everybody moving here. And so it gets crazy, and everybody brings their bad driving habits here. And I see it every day on the road. I'm sure you do too. If you've been to Tampa, or if you've been living in Tampa and you've watched it, you've seen some of these people that think that they are NASCAR drivers and then they can weave in and out just like this. I don't get it. I don't understand how people don't think that they're gonna hurt somebody that way. You know, there's even parts closer to the beach you have to be aware of, especially during our high season, which we are in right now. Everybody's vacationing here, kids are out of school, everybody's going to the beach. So Gulf to Bay is a parking lot. All of the little bridges leading over to the beach, a parking lot. So you might think, oh, I live really close to the beach, like I do. I live technically 20 minutes from Honeymoon Island. But if I want to get on Honeymoon Island, I need to get up and get out of the house early, because I'm gonna sit on the bridge. There's a causeway. I have to sit on the causeway waiting to get into the park. I had to do this for my birthday. We had a party at the beach for my birthday, and it took us a good 30, 45 minutes just sitting there waiting for people to get in. You have to be cognizant of the fact if you're here and you're living here and now you are wanting to still do some of the touristy things, like go to downtown St. Petersburg and go to the pier, or you want to go to the beaches, or you want to go somewhere where you know there's going to be a lot of people. You need to start planning ahead. We used to not have to do that because there wasn't that many people here. And so even some of these high traffic areas, nobody knew about. So Honeymoon Island wasn't a big beach that everybody knew about. Now it's packed all the time. So keep that in mind. If you're someone who gets really frustrated with traffic like I do, you just need to plan ahead. But of course, if you're trying to get to Orlando, most certainly need to plan ahead, because that I-4 corridor, man, my girlfriend lives in Orlando and it used to take her 2 hours to get here. Now it takes her 3. So do the math yourself. Plan ahead. High insurance costs, you guys. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while. It hasn't changed much. The insurance providers, Citizens is the main insurance provider here. I always say shop around. Make sure that you have certain things in the house, to give you some of those discounts for insurance, but it's pretty high. Now, we're not as high as some states, but you've got to factor in the fact that we are in a high natural disaster area. You're not going to be able to get around that. And until some of these other insurance companies come back into our area, which they are starting to slowly come back once they've gotten some of their claims figured out, it's a little touch and go right now. So I have my own insurance guy that I send everybody to. When you work with me, that's who I offer to give you information on. He seems to be able to give my people really good deals, but I tell everyone to shop around. Don't just use my guy. Compare him to other people and make sure you're getting the best rate. And it's not just flood that you have to consider. Like I mentioned before, wind. So when we go through our inspection period, you're gonna get not only a main inspection report, but you're gonna get a 4-point as well as a wind mitigation. And that's gonna also help the insurance agents understand the level of wind your roof can withstand. And so there's certain things that your insurance agent can share with you and will ask you, does it have hurricane hooks? Certain things that are happening within the structure of the roof itself that are going to give you those discounts. Again, insulation. Again, I highly recommend everyone getting an energy assessment when they move into their house, whether it's Duke Energy or it's Tampa Electric. They send out a third-party provider and they will come and do an energy assessment. And a lot of times they will blow more insulation in your attic in order to help keep the house cooler, because don't forget, you cannot, I just had this conversation with a client, do not put anything in your attic unless it can withstand 500-degree heat. Because again, that's what your attic is built for. It's to buffer and to give a place for that heat to insulate through so that you don't sit in a hot box and your AC is running constantly like mine is right now. That's why I'm sitting here. I get good AC right here. So hot. Don't forget, when you're looking at houses in Tampa, if you haven't already moved here, you got to be careful. You do not want the roof to be older than 10 years old. If it is, you're going to pay a higher premium. It used to be they wouldn't insure it. Now they'll insure it, but they're going to make you pay for it. So take a look at the age of the roof. The more it ages, the higher that premium is going to get. I have a girlfriend that has gone through this. She's lived in her house, 20 years. I'm not sure she has replaced that roof. It doesn't mean the roof has any problems. but it can't be insured properly. And so that causes a lot of problems over the years of these roofs. So you just have to make sure that you keep your roof well maintained. You know the age of the roof going into the purchase, and then you keep a watch of it each year, but watch that insurance. It might continue to go up if you don't replace the roof. And on the taxes note, we're gonna go to property taxes because I keep hearing a lot from people, oh, your property taxes are so high, they're so high. Technically, Florida is number 2 as far as tax burden in the country. And another site said number 4. So still, we're in the top 5 of being a low tax burden state. It depends on where you are. But if you're in South Florida, I think your property taxes are gonna be a little higher. If you're gonna be in the northern part of Florida, I think your property taxes are gonna be a little lower. We're in that middle point. We're in the central west coast. So we tend to have, anywhere between 1.35 and 1.6% of the purchase price. That's the figure that you can put in your mind. There's also homestead exemption, which is gonna significantly lower that. You wanna make sure you do that as soon as you get your documents back from title company after you've closed on your property. You want to give the county about 45 days, and then I tell all my clients, go ahead and get that homestead exemption filled out online, get it done. You only have to do it once, and it helps significantly reduce your property taxes, and it also helps cap it so that you're not getting those incredible increases all the time. We also have no state income tax, and again, low property tax, but we also have no estate tax. So if you happen to have a loved one that lives here and you live here, and they pass away and you're gonna get something from their estate, you don't have to worry about paying the estate tax, which can be very huge. So that is a bonus. It does balance out a bit. I think my suggestion for anybody that's looking to relocate to Tampa and you're starting to look at houses, you really need to go on that county. If I identified a house, go to that county's property appraiser's website, and there is a property tax estimator. And you can use a formula I gave you, 1.35% or 1.6% of the purchase price. You can have a purchase price in your mind and kind of do the math yourself. But a lot of people get really shocked when they start to do the numbers and go, oh, the property taxes, I thought they were gonna be so much lower. Well, they used to be. Now we're creeping up to that national average. But again, we're still lower than a lot of other states. So it is what it is. I'm sure you all have opinions about it. Comment below. And I'm gonna address sinkholes because it's become a bit of a pain in the butt for a lot of people. I've run into this a little bit because I tend to sell a lot on the West Coast. Most of my clients tend to want to be closer to the beach. And so there's certain areas that have a higher potential for sinkholes than others. So on this website, you can take a look a little bit more, do a little deeper dive in some of the areas in the neighborhoods that have higher levels of sinkholes. Again, we're built on sand, so don't let them totally scare you. Every time you are looking at a property with your agent or with me, we look at the seller's property disclosures. The seller must disclose whatever they know about the property. So if they know there had been a sinkhole on that property, they have to disclose it. And a lot of times the inspector can tell whether there's settling or foundational shifting going on. And then we can look a little bit more deeper into the county records, and the county usually has that information on sinkholes as well. I have a listing and it had a settlement problem in 1999. It should not be on the county website anymore because it got remediated and it's still there. We're working to get it off. And that can be a huge red flag to people that don't understand how all that works. So it's not the end of the world, but you want to do your due diligence. There are certain areas, like I said, that have higher amounts of sinkholes than others. And I've also seen houses that had a sinkhole and it got remediated. Well, guess what? That house is probably the most secure house on the block. But again, guys, I'm going to ask you if you have any information about sinkholes or if you have any experience with sinkholes in the Tampa area. I'd love to hear about it. Help educate me and the rest of us about it because it can be a scary thing. It is something you need to keep an eye out for, and your agent needs to keep an eye out for as well. So here's the thing about public education that's going to drive you crazy if you're coming from an area that has really great education. Florida has never had great education. Why do people make fun of us on all of the television shows and all the movies? Like, oh, they're from Florida, or oh, they're from Tampa. I'm like, we get a bad rap all around, right? We're sort of known, or people make jokes about us being dumb, those of us that went to school here. So I do believe the positive side of the things that are changing due to the influx of people moving here is our education system is getting better. We are ranked pretty high nationally, interestingly enough. And even our teachers are ranked pretty high, but yet we're one of the lowest paying states for our teachers. So on average, Florida teachers get paid around $53,000 a year, which ranks 50th among the states. When there is a funding shortage, there are two primary areas where spending can be curtailed: staff salaries and maintenance. So I noticed that I saw this recently in the Tampa Bay Times about, we are ranked 50th as lowest in pay. I mean, you guys, that's ridiculous. No wonder, we can't keep good teachers. So my thing is, I still tell people to use greatschools.org. That tends to give you a really great overview of the schools. We don't seem to have great schools for the primary grades, but as far as higher education, we have great colleges. We have University of Tampa, which is our private college. We've got USF, which they have many locations. We've got University of Central Florida. We've got Gainesville. We've got Florida State University. We've got some really great schools. And we have Miami University. So there's a ton of great universities and higher education schools here in our state, but we're starting to slowly work on our primary and our middle schools, and even some of the high schools are even getting better. So it's slow growing, but again, if you're somebody that's looking to move here with children, you really have to do your homework ahead of time. I've had a lot of clients tell me, okay, I have to live in this area because these are the schools we're focusing on. And we can do that, definitely, because it's gonna make you crazy, with the way that they treat teachers here and how the administration cares for their teachers or doesn't care for the teachers. And each school is different, and you're gonna have to kind of uncover it on your own, but you should do your research ahead of time for sure, because like I said, we're not really known for to be great in education. And one of the last things I want to bring to your attention is the job market, because of course, if you're going to relocate to our area and you need a physical job in the area of Tampa, you really have to know that before you get here. If you think it's going to be easy to find a job once you land here, I don't think that's probably the right way to go about it. I personally, when I relocated here, I was in IT staffing at the time, and I had to get a job before I could move here. It just was too hard. There's just not a lot going on as far as multiple different kinds of industries. We tend to be, definitely in hospitality and tourism and the finance sector and the healthcare sector. Those are areas that are really robust. Our IT is coming. We've got like Jabil and Honeywell, and we also have GE. We have a lot of companies that are here, yes, and other companies like PwC. So there is opportunity here, but some of the feedback I've been getting from people, and again, give me some comments below and let me know if you've got any resources to share or any information to share for people that are on the job hunt. It is kind of hard to get a recruiter or an application seen by somebody. I always say try to get the hiring manager's name. See if you can make a phone call. Picking up the phone versus emailing, I think that goes a long way right now, because most people are just emailing and they're getting bombarded. You've got to try new inventive ways, or get a referral. That's always the best way to get into an office or get in front of an HR manager. So I hope some of that helped in regards to jobs. Again, I'm not in that field anymore, obviously. I'm full-time real estate. I'm very, very busy, and I love it so much. And again, I just want to provide as much information as I can when it comes to that, because I understand that difficulty. But again, I hope this video was a little helpful for you. I mean, some of this stuff you guys already know. There's some other things that I'm sure really make people angry while living here. I'm noticing there is a higher level of anger with a lot of people that have lived here for a long time, finding it very difficult to find their way in this new environment. The cost of living here has risen since, COVID, of course, as we've talked about before, and, prices are going up. They're starting to level out. Our housing prices, of course, have been going up. They're leveling out. So there's some things that are starting to balance out that I've noticed. Grocery bills, that's starting to level out. Gas, I'm starting to see gas level out a little bit too. So, as the years progress and as, we're in an election year, we'll see what happens. I hope, and I'm going to stay positive, that some good things are coming our way. I really love our state and I love living in the Tampa area, but it can be challenging. And trust me, when I walked outside today to walk my dog and that heat hit me, I was not happy. So I'm sure a lot of you aren't happy with it as well. Again, love to hear comments below. Really appreciate you coming and checking out my channel today and this video, and I'm see you next week, okay? Have a good one. Bye-bye.